timing. I think when I put the proposal in all those months ago, I had a nightmare that no one would turn up. So the fact that we've got more than one man in his dock, that's really cool. So thanks for coming. I wanted to talk a little bit about Agile in a non-software environment. I came to Agile on the beach last year and was struck by the energy and the enthusiasm and the love for Agile, but found it quite frustrating that actually there weren't many people talking about Agile outside of software. So what I propose to do today is to talk a little bit about our Agile journey, our continuing journey to Agile, and share with you some of the successes, some of the failures, some of the things that went really well, and some of the things that didn't. I'm not an Agile expert in any way, shape or form. My role is to, my primary role within WorldSmart is like the creative lead for a bunch of really talented product designers, which I'll go through a little bit more, give you some context about what we do and who we are. But like I say, the main purpose of today is to share with everyone our experiences. Hopefully they're interesting, hopefully they might stimulate some ideas, some thoughts. Maybe if you have any questions we can tackle them at the end. Oh, I've never done this presentation before, so good luck to you lot. And I think it's about 20 minutes, so I think we're going to be quite quick. So we'll see. Okay, cool. So who are WorldSmart? That's the first question, just to give you some context. We are a toy company. We are based in Cornwall. We are that rare research and development company out in the backwaters of Cornwall. We have about 18 creative people on our staff. So we have quite a large design studio. We employ graphic designers, product designers, industrial designers, mechanical engineers, 3D designers, product technologists, brand people, etc., in the studio. Okay, so and you probably won't have heard of us because we're not customer facing. But if you've got kids under the age of about, if you had kids from about the age of 6 and under, you've probably seen an advert on television for our products or actually used one of our products. We are Disney's European #1 home licensor, so we do a load of furniture and toy products for Disney. We're their #1 supplier. Our mainstays products are ready beds, go-glos and trampolines, so we've made 11 million ready beds today, 5 million go-glos and 1.5 million trampolines. We do all of our research and development in Cornwall, and we manufacture as the rest of the world does in China. So we're dual-sited. Okay. I told you what I'm going to tell you all about, but I'm going to tell you it again. So, Agile. What's our story? And hopefully, sharing our story, there might be something that ignites some spark or interest here with you guys. I'm going to talk about why we needed it. I'm going to talk about what we did, and probably for me most important is how it went and how did it feel. So again, what were the wins and what were the losses? Okay, why? Let's start with why. About 4 years ago, we went through a period of quite rapid growth. We turn over about £30 million at the moment, and we were turning over about 20 million. And basically, the company is 26 years old or so, and some of the processes and some of the structures and the procedures that we had in place had their genesis from right at the beginning of the business life. And we went through a period of great growth, which is really cool. But the problem was that the infrastructure that we had started to creep and grind and started to not be fit for purpose anymore. So what we needed to do, we needed to have a bit of a reset, a rethink. Okay? Some of the symptoms of our rapid growth was we had stress teams, we had quite chaotic structures. We launched 260 new products a year, which is a massive amount. We had project management software that was over 17 years old. It was bespoke. It was designed by or owned by the managing director. So he loved it. He knew how to use it, but not many other people in the business knew how to use it. We had poor estimation of work lead times and pigeonhole people. So the upshot of that was we do a snapshot of kind of how the state of health of our team members. And basically, of those 18 people in the studio, we were having like an average happiness rating of about 55%. We would aim to have about 85%. So whilst it's a really cool place to work and we're doing some really cool stuff, actually the pressures that were being pumped into the system through the rapid growth started to make it creak and started to genuinely affect people's habits. If you've been to any of the sessions this morning, a lot of the talk is about we don't develop product, we develop teams, and teams develop products. So kind of that has a real parallel with the experience that we have. Okay, so just to give you a little bit further context, and just to, I'm sure the product or the design guys would share a lot in common with software guys and the software guys here, but it's worth just reflecting on some of the characteristics, you say, of our creative team. So this is Tam. She's really good at designing girls' products. She loves, this sounds wrong, juicy open briefs. Yeah, saying that out loud. I should practice that. I think you know what I mean. But hates ambiguity. So she loves a big open space, but she needs to know where the limits of that space are. This is Dave. Dave will design you the best product on the face of this planet, but it will be a year late. Okay? Dave will just run and run and run and run and run and run and run until no one cares. Okay? Very talented guy. Hates deadlines. He's got this. I think he needs to go to the doctors about that. Lucy, quite the opposite. She doesn't revel in the creative possibilities, but she loves juggling workload and manages multiple projects on the hoof. Sam, I say she loves Disney. I think that's an understatement. She dresses in the most, licensed clothing that are probably for kids. But anyway, she comes to work in them and that's great. And she doesn't like juggling workload either. And Tabby loves lateral thinking, hates presenting. Stu, brilliant concept designer, loves blank pages. But up until about 12 months ago, 2 years ago, if you'd invited him to a planning meeting, he would have made up any excuse under the sun. I don't know. There wouldn't be anything he wouldn't do to avoid going to that meeting. Okay? So you kind of have this kind of perfect storm. You've kind of got an environment where we need to control our projects coming through the development cycle, and we have a team who, by their nature, have an adversity to being controlled. You know, they are literally cats. You can't herd them, or it's very difficult to herd them, because it's not seen to be their core thing that they do, okay? And these are some of the things that they would say to me. Okay, I go home having done lots, but done nothing properly. Okay, too much work, juggling too many balls. I have no idea how my products perform once they leave development. So basically, there's no feedback loop, there's no closure of that loop. How the product is received in the marketplace, how kids if kids love the product, if parents love the product, if retailers love the product, there's no feedback loop. This is just so ubiquitous with the creative team. I hate planning; it suffocates my creativity. So if they're looking at adopting Agile and saying, what's in it for me, it's a really hard sell because to them, planning equals stifled creativity. But in actual fact, what we'll go on to in a bit, is actually the opposite. Okay, the magic of some of my ideas get lost as products go through the development cycle. It's very easy to lose through the pressures of time, money, risk, and schedule. It's very easy to lose the mojo of a project, and what you fell in love with in the design school, the concept phase, and once it goes through the machine and comes out the other end, it's very easy by 1,000 cuts to kill the product and for the product to flop. And that happened regularly with us. This is another sort of classic one. You can't schedule when to have great ideas. So, we've got a deliverable in a week's time, but I might not be ready in a week's time because the great idea might be just over the hill. So I need another day. So these are the types of things, the situation we were in. And as I said, probably the most distressing thing about that is that whereas we should have a highly motivated team working with some really cool products, having fun in a really nice environment, we actually ended up with a team on the slide. So they were overworked, overstressed, feeling that they weren't achieving. So even though they were delivering, they felt like they weren't achieving, and that manifested itself in the most blunt of ways where we have 55% happiness. Okay, so through some consultancy that we brought into the business through Oxford Innovation and through Belinda, we decided that there were several things we wanted to achieve. And these are the main targets of at least trying Agile. We wanted to bring simplicity instead of complexity. So whereas we had, as I mentioned before, we had this lovely bit of software that absolutely mirrored our development process beautifully, it was so damn difficult to use that no one could actually use it properly. That information, it was all there, the projects were being controlled, but they were hidden in a server somewhere that not everyone had access to, and certainly didn't know how to use properly. So we wanted to bring that information out and see where it took us. We wanted to bring rhythm into our week and our time, instead of being ad hoc. We suffered from continual demands of our time to do product reviews, project reviews, to review schedule, and imagine doing that for 260 products, that's just a nightmare. And very little of our time we would actually spend designing, and a lot of our time we would spend in team meetings and discussing what's late. And the other thing we kept doing was we kept making the same mistakes over and over. Even though we knew we were doing it, there was something there that prevented us from acknowledging it and then dealing with it. Okay, so they are the four basics or foundations of the things we want to achieve by looking at Agile. So what do we do? Okay, I've got maybe, say, 5, I think, examples of some of the things that we did. It's by no means all of them, but I think I'd bore you all to death, so I think we'll just stick at 5 and so probably run into 6 o'clock. But one of the first things that we did is we decided as a business to become brand-led, not product-led. So we organised our 260 products into probably too many brands, 5, which is now stripped down to 3. And this is an example of our project structure before we changed. And you'll see that each product has its own team that centrally is managed by the brand team. The lines of communication are very ad hoc. So we all communicate to each other several times, the same information, and it's all very sort of scattergun, complicated. And again, just to remind ourselves, this is a situation we found ourselves in. There was a chaotic structure, we were busy fools, we pigeonholed people, we had ad hoc meetings, wrong people doing the wrong jobs, constant reprioritising. And what we changed to, we became brand-led. So whereas we belong to 2 teams, in Worlds Apart we have 2 teams. We have our virtual teams, which are the brands, and we have our functional teams. And it's quite a shift of thinking, actually, that both teams are of equal importance. Now our teams are not led by the brand team, but they're led by the most appropriate person who facilitates our virtual team meetings. We identified that changing our structure, we wanted everyone to feel ownership of the brand, as opposed to one person asking why something's late, or one person receiving lots of information but not giving much out. One of the things we wanted to do is we wanted to shape our meetings so that there was a collective sense of endeavour, that we all had visibility of everything that was happening, whilst retaining our responsibility, our functional responsibility. We could have visibility and contribute to stuff that was just a bit beyond our normal remit. We put into place metronomic weekly meetings. Okay, so Tuesdays Mondays for us are our functional team. That's a day for functional team. So I do my one-to-ones on a Monday. We do our planning meetings on a Monday. We do Tuesdays are our virtual team days. So we know we can block out certain points of the day on Tuesday. And we have those meetings every week, regardless of who's available, regardless of what's happening in the business. They happen every single Tuesday. As I say, freeing up, at the very least, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for proper design work. Both fun and functional. It can be really boring going through a list of 260 projects and saying which ones are late and what we can do to claw that time back. So we had to bring in an element of fun, and so we do things like show and tell. So if someone's particularly pleased with a bit of work that they've done, if they want to come and show mummy, then they can do that in the virtual team environment. And the really, really important thing that we do is we celebrate micro successes, so small successes. The big stuff like a product launching or a product being listed is cool and that's great, but what we found was a lot of time we were ignoring the very small successes that we were having on a daily basis. So the virtual team meeting is an environment which we can share and celebrate those things. Let's say, for example, we submit a piece of artwork to Disney and they approve it first time. Then that's something that we would bring into the meeting and go, hey, Dave did a great job on that. Approved first time, no changes. Isn't that cool? And, of course, stand up and for 30-ish minutes. We try to do 30, but, you know. Okay, so that was our plan for making our virtual teams. The next thing we realised is that actually our space, our environment wasn't very agile. So this is I mean, we have a really nice office and it's a very typical meeting space. As you can see, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's very functional. But it's also quite dry and quite boring, and it's not really very agile. So what we did was we changed some of our meeting spaces and dedicated quite a big area in the business for our virtual team meetings. And this cost very, very little to do. We basically plastered our walls with magnetic white clean surfaces. We kept, which I'll go on to in a minute about our product management system. We kept the product management system there that could be updated live, which we weren't doing before. We put the key brand messages. So what was really important for our meeting spaces was to constantly reference brand values, core brand values. The DNA, which is a horrible word, but the DNA of the brand. And we found that putting it on the wall, literally plastering it on the wall, really helped us focus. So that when we were discussing projects, we constantly reference back to what we were trying to achieve with the brand. And if what we were discussing didn't help us to achieve those goals, then the conversation was parked or stopped. Okay, standing up as well. These are bar tables from IKEA. I think they cost about 70 quid each. So yeah, the cost is very low. The other thing we did was we started to do a huddle in the morning. Having a nice huddle in the morning. And here's our team looking jolly posed for a photograph. But the core characteristics, they start at 9:15, and we do them every single day. And if I'm not around, they still happen. They are basically their format is really simple and quick. One person speaks at a time. Today I'm going to do today, and these are my issues. Okay? As I say, really quick, really punchy, and I can't tell you how much this changed our working dynamic. Starting the day in the right way, starting the day as a group of individuals that might go off the rest of the day and work with different project teams, but starting the group as a functional group and a team is a reminder that we're all working together and can share and collaborate with our ideas. They are a really good way to start the day, in a really positive way. We can control that. We can give our, not literally a cuddle, a high five, but we on occasion do give us a cuddle, I think. But that has been probably the most successful and really, really simple to do. Most successful thing that we managed to achieve. Really quickly, just looking at our system. I said to you that we had a product management system that was developed over 17 years plus. The MD had started it all those years ago, and there were some very senior stakeholders in the business who bought into that piece of software. It's bespoke, so we had to go outside of the business because none of us in the business had the skill set to change. It was full of bugs and workarounds, and as I say, senior stakeholders. All of that equals really, really, really hard to change. How are we going to persuade those people that know how to use it, that say it does the job, whereas the majority of the user group couldn't, it wasn't fit for function. Okay. So we tried rationally explaining that, well, that didn't work. All you heard was, yeah, we can already do that. Yeah, it all does that. Yeah, it all does it. But, so that was it. So what we did was, we actually, in true Agile fashion, we tried to give a visual representation of our system. So we started merrily building. A physical manifestation of our project management software, but that was really not well received. There was a real difficult selling job to actually get people to maintain the boards when it was already being done in the virtual environment. So, okay, so that's fine. Okay, let's try a simpler version. Not having that. And then we just went back to some really simple Kanban boards. And this was a really interesting experiment. Again, we did this with Belinda. He came in once in a while and said, "Have you done your homework?" Yes. Oh, brilliant boards, aren't they great? Yeah, there's a bit of a problem there. On your pause. Yeah, there's quite a few stuff pause there. Oh, don't worry, we'll just make a bigger pause section. That's okay. Problem solved. No, it's not problem solved. And really, this was a problem that we had. We have Lucas, or we have Star Wars, or Disney, or Marvel, but we send our artwork to, and they approve or not. And we always allowed 2 weeks for it. But hey, they've never done it in 2 weeks, and because they're Marvel, because we did Love World's Part, they do it when they do it. So basically, all of the work that or lots and lots and lots of the work was getting, there was bottleneck, and this was bottleneck. And we knew it, or we kind of knew it. We're not daft. But there was some, and I don't know why, there was some hesitancy or reticence to actually address it, and actually physically having it on the wall actually really drove it home, and actually we've actually adapted our CPA to reflect something that's more in line with reality, which has been quite hard work, but worked. And that was just one example. We have changed. This is our system before, looking pretty ugly. We now employ a full-time software guy who basically has taken all the learnings that we've had from putting our development software on the wall, and used that as a catalyst for writing specification for a new piece of software. And this is currently in development, and it's fabulous. It's going to be really, really cool. And we wouldn't have got there. I guarantee we wouldn't have got there if we didn't physically put the system up on the wall and basically throw darts at it, because that's what we ended up doing. So that's been a huge success for us. Another really good, interesting example of making stuff visual to drive home a point was our CPA was based on a autumn-winter shipping date of the 20th of April to the 10th of May. Yes, so what? Right. What that means is that all of our work, all of our design work, everything works back from that ship date. But we kind of knew that we never really shipped from that date. It was kind of an approximation, but it was putting stress in the system and contributing to workload log jams and people getting stressed out and people, as I said, not enjoying their work so much. So what we did one season, we put a big, this was huge, we've got really cool printers at work, so large format. We put this on the wall, and every time a product went out, they put a container up on the ship. You can see there, that's our date that we assume is our generic date, and they're the rest of the dates. And this is what happened. So we were working to the 20th of April to the 10th of May, but in actual fact, we were hardly shipping anything. We were actually shipping going up to July. And again, we kind of knew that, but we had to do something to show absolutely everyone in the business. So the MD walking past them, that's crazy, And actually, another really cool thing that happened, just as a byproduct of putting it up on the wall, is that these projects here didn't ship at all. So we originated, so we tooled up the manufacturer. 16% of our products never sold a single one. Never even got into a retailer that sold a single unit. So we have waste in our system. There's loads of reasons why. Some you can get rid of, and some you can't. There will be but it was a really fascinating, and I think we put a number on it. It was something like £50,000 of origination that was just utterly wasted. And again, that now has informed our new CPA, and we have much more intelligent deadlines. And you might say, well, that's no great chase in that because the computer system was crap to start off with. So, but actually, it's funny how crap builds up and builds. You get this legacy stuff and these hangovers, and it's just really hard to change sometimes. And I think my takeaway from this was actually making it visual and putting where everyone wants it really helped us make some cultural changes. I said about repeating mistakes. Again, we were, hopefully not so much now, very guilty of this, about doing the same things over and over again. Alan Kay last year put up a slide, I think it was, and put a link to some resources about how to do retrospectives. We had a look at it, and because we're designers, we kind of changed it a bit. And what we did was we created a game of Monopoly, kind of whereby we took the core idea of doing a retrospective and doing a board, but we made it a bit more fun and we made it our own. And this is an example of one of our retrospectives that we do at the end of a product sprint. I'm sure you guys know about this, but I'll go for it anyway. The way that you start off is you create a timeline for the project. First thing is all the stakeholders come for at least an hour into a room, and you leave your organisation hierarchy at the door. So everyone is equal in the room. It's not facilitated. There's no chairman. If you have a pen in your hand, you can talk and write. If you don't, you can't. Or you tell people to beforehand. We stand around the table and we work around the board. We create a timeline. We note our successes for that project. We make a note of our difficulties. We record stuff we want to keep, stuff we want to do differently, and stuff we want to stop doing. And then this is the key. This is the real key thing. The next bit is take away 3 major actions for the next sprint. When we first did this, we ended up with like 20, and there's no way you can achieve 20 changes. So, in fact, you do none of them. So what we do is we now take 3 of our main learnings, and we endeavour to, as a group, to use them and take them away for the next sprint. Okay, and the really cool thing about doing this is that, firstly, there were a lot of people that didn't want to go to the retrospectives because they thought they were going to get their arse kicked because they didn't do something cool. But one of the tendencies that you apologies if you know this, but one of the tendencies that you go to that meeting with the understanding that everyone in the room did the best that they could at the time, and that we all care about the project, and if there were mistakes made, then they were made, if you like, for the right reason. Okay, and what happened is as we started doing them, people started wanting to take ownership of them. And it might seem like a little thing, but at the end of our meetings now, we will sign the board. So we put our name, we physically put our name on the board. And even cooler than that, we now put them, this is one of our main entrances into the studio, we now put our retrospective boards up on the wall, so that they are seen every single day, and hopefully we are reminded about those 3 takeaways, 3 learnings. So that's been a really powerful tool. So there's some of the things that I've done. Just rattling quickly on that. How did it feel? I think one of the things that's really difficult about trying to adopt Agile, if there aren't that many templates, or if there aren't many case studies for you to follow, they're not as readily available, is it kind of can. I think it could probably be even more difficult than rolling it out in a software environment, I guess. So one of the problems that we had was that Belinda came in and presented Agile to us as an idea, as a methodology to adapt from a process. And throughout the team of 5 different functional teams in the studio, there was varying degrees of acceptance and varying degrees of. You have some people that said, well, that's nonsense. We already do that. That's nonsense. You have some people say, we haven't got a problem. Don't know what we're talking about. There's some people who say, yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's give that a go. Let's have some fun with that, and everything in between. Now, one of the things that I kind of struggled with was how we were going to have a cultural change where you had pockets of resistance. And how do you get people on board? Because you can't hit someone to make them more. They've got to understand what's in it for them, see the benefits, and then get on the bus. So we had all these lovely ideas of how to become more agile, these really cool stuff that we could play with. And over time, as a team, we adopted some, we lost some others, and we made some ripples within the business. And we did that with a very isolated team. So we didn't want to change the world. We didn't want to, but we wanted through baby steps to convince other people actually it's worth giving it a go. And this is exactly what happened. And this is the diagram, because this is how I see it happen, is that we probably took one team within the studio, and they started to play. And then, because we get a curious lot, it then started to ripple out, the effect started to ripple out literally in this diagram. And that's how, even though I would say there is still varying degrees of buy-in, that's how we managed to convince other people. And in fact, some of the teams that were actually most resistant are actually kind of like at the forefront now and kind of leading our process change. And this is another really relevant slide, I think. The kind of riding the change roller coaster. From someone coming in and showing you a really cool, exciting, accessible, some accessible ideas, you're really fired up and you want to go, and then you kind of go back to your desk and you kind of do it, and some people don't want to do it. And then you go, and basically this is kind of like an ongoing curve, I think. Is that as we continue to, as time passes and we continue on our journey, we continue to have those peaks and troughs. But the one thing that I've learned is to try something and drop it as quickly as you can if it's not working. Which is the one thing I love about Agile, is that the toolkit is very flexible. You can do stuff, you can try stuff. It doesn't work, don't do it. It doesn't mean that the whole thing's going to fall down like a pack of cards. And that's certainly what we've done, is that we've adopted some of the tools and ideas and made them our own and feel ownership of them. Yeah, and okay, we call it Agile, but we just kind of just see it as our working process, if you like. And one of the key things is to get champions in key positions within the organisation, so that when the going does get tough, when you need some more support, you've got people there who are brought in at the very senior level, whilst they might not be doing it, at the very senior level, to help and support you through those choppy waters. And playing, we deliberately changed stuff and made the Monopoly board, for example, because of the nature of who we are as a business and our corporate culture. It was really important that we played with the tools and made them fun and had a sense of you had better engagement with the team if you use a generic board, or generic retrospective board, or the guys wouldn't accept it. But if you make it your own and make it fun and engaging, then we certainly found that that's the best way forward. And again, we picked stuff up. It's been successful for a short time, and then we've dropped it because it's kind of lost its relevance because we've moved on. And I see that's how we will continue to go. Actually, is that we will continue to pick stuff up, and the stuff that sticks, I think we'll do our morning huddles forever. I think we'll keep our virtual team structures forever. I think. Because it's really worked well. And we've tried plenty of stuff, with the boards, for example, that haven't really worked. But that's cool. So, how did we do it? What I said at the beginning of the presentation was the importance of building high-performing teams, and rather than high-performing products. What I said was, in 2013, we were around about 55-60% on our happiness scale. Okay, we introduced Agile 18 months ago, and just the last round of appraisals that we've done, our score's gone up to 85. No, not quite. Say around about 80 and 85. And whilst difficult to unpick that, one of the messages coming back from the team is that they feel more relaxed, they feel more comfortable, they feel that rather than planning and making space for them to be creative, rather than that stifling their creativity, it's actually liberated them. So the idea of working hard and achieving nothing is slowly We're still working on our, I think we're about 180 products now, we were 260, about 180, we probably need to get down to, well, way less than that, truth be told. So it's a journey, you know, but I wouldn't expect a 20-something, 26-year-old company to turn that tank around, quite literally. We've got loads more work to do on that one, and I really believe that we can go much higher than 80%. I think we can get better still. It was really interesting as well because it's on my radar. There was an article in Design Week, which is one of our major publications, and they did a study on creative consultancies in the UK, so advertising agencies, design agencies, branding, etc. And they kind of 84% of everyone who tried and played with Agile actually saw an improvement of team morale, and that definitely reflects our experience anyway within the studio. Okay, shameless plug for Belinda. The finding stuff that's not technical or not that doesn't scare people technically about Agile is really quite hard. It's because the language is developed in the whole kind of environment has has grown in the software industry, and it's really quite scary, you know, because I don't understand the word of it basically. But this is a really good resource, I think. If you were a non-technical environment and you were looking at adopting Agile, the book really simply describes each of the tools, describes how they can work together. But like I say, I think for me, my biggest takeaway is that the best thing about being Agile is actually picking stuff up, trying it. It's like a sweet shop. Picking stuff up, trying it, if it doesn't work, use it. So that's pretty cool. So okay, so just winding up there. Okay, what I talked about was why did we need Agile? So we were a business that had grown rapidly. We were creaking and straining at the seams, and probably worst of all, the team's happiness was on the slide. Okay, so what did we do? We did things like we visualized all of our product development management software. We visualized that and put it on the wall. We made our CPA a visual toy. We changed our teams to become brand-led teams. We reorganised ourselves and made sure that we were putting the right amount of resource into our grow projects and the right amount of resource into our run projects. We identified bottlenecks, we identified weaknesses in our system. We changed our environment, and we changed the way we planned our workload. And how did it go? Well, there was some good stuff and some bad stuff. We continue to be on that kind of journey, I guess. But we've seen, within 18 months, we've seen a tangible, measurable improvement in our team's performance. And we are getting better and better and better and better and better at what we do. We're not perfect, but we are definitely a better team. With Agile, we're a better team 2 years later than we would be without it. So that's definitely my takeaway. And that's it, really. So, any questions? Questions, Randy? No, great, thanks, Brian. One right back there.
When and how did you measure happiness?
Right, okay, so there's a couple of questions. We do, we have an appraisal, an annual appraisal scheme that we run, and we do interim ones every 4 months. So it's a really simple question, and it's just a scale. It's just a gut feel. It's like an instant response. Like how happy are you at work? If 0 is you're miserable as sin, and 10 is you're high in the sky, and you're absolutely. And basically, and in fact, it's really strange because when that sounds like a very blunt instrument, but actually, when you look at people's gut responses, just their impulsive, i.e. 80%, it then genuinely marries up with when they verbalise what their issues are at work or what. So what I'm trying to say is that it might sound a bit of a blunt tool, but actually my experience is that just giving a gut reaction, when you dig down deeper, it's rationalised by some really some really clear thought processes, some really clear experiences of why perhaps we're not so happy. So that's it.